let me please save you the trouble and the heartache that I went through. Like 6 years of my life wasted because I didn't want to lower my pride and admit that I needed help. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to get sober then. I didn't want to admit that. I knew I had a problem and I wanted help, but I wasn't ready to admit that I was an addict. I wasn't ready to admit that I was an alcoholic. I wasn't ready to admit that I was anything less than the image, the ideal image that I had in my mind. And that's what prevented me from getting sober for those 6 years. After failing for 6 years to get sober on my own, lowering my pride, admitting that I needed help and that I couldn't solve the problem myself is how I got sober. And in this video, I'm going to give you a little bit of my backstory and tell you how I got sober and what you can do to replicate my success. First, a little bit about myself. I have over 20 years of lived experience in active addiction, and I'm here to give back a little bit to others who might be struggling how I was struggling when I was in addiction. I want you to get locked in while I dial this in. The last 7 of those 20 years, I was severely addicted to substances, alcohol, pornography, and I couldn't help myself. And for 6 of those 7 years, I tried to get sober. I knew I had a problem. I knew I needed help, but I thought that I could help myself, that my ego, my pride, I knew it all. I could read some self-help books. I'll get into some stoicism. I'll read some Ryan Holiday. So I'll read Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, all these Stoic philosophers. I'll read some self-help books, and I'll study the science of addiction. Well, I'll tell you what. None of that helped me. None of that helped me because I was missing a key component in my recovery. I was missing a spiritual and emotional component. Reading was helping my mental understanding and my mental understanding of addiction and why I was addicted and the mechanisms of addiction, but it wasn't helping me to actually get sober. And it's because I was missing the spiritual aspect, the emotional aspect, and also the relational aspect or relationship aspect. I was trying to get sober by myself in isolation. I wasn't joining any 12-step program. I thought I was above that. I didn't go to AA. I didn't go to NA. I didn't seek psychological help or therapy. Actually, no, that's a lie. I did seek help. And I remember going to therapy maybe around the 2nd or 3rd session. The therapist suggested, after I told her my pattern of use, she suggested that I might be an everyday user, and I flat out told her, no, that's not how. I wasn't an everyday user because I was binging for 3, 4, 5 days, and then I was taking a week break or a 3, 4, 5 day break and then going back at it. And then I remember she called me an addict and that I had a problem, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to get sober then. I didn't want to admit that. I knew I had a problem and I wanted help, but I wasn't ready to admit that I was an addict. I wasn't ready to admit that I was an alcoholic. I wasn't ready to admit that I was anything less than the image, the ideal image that I had in my mind. And that's what prevented me from getting sober for those 6 years, is my pride and my ego, right? They say that pride comes before the fall. Humility comes before honor. Well, I didn't have any humility. I didn't have humility to learn from others, and I wasn't humble enough. I had all this pride that I could do everything by myself on my own, that I wasn't an addict, that I was just partying a little bit too heavy on the weekends here and there. No, the reality is that I was an addict and I was severely addicted. I was in denial. I didn't want to admit it, but a part of me wanted to get help. So maybe there's one of you who are watching and resonating with what I'm saying, that maybe you're partying, maybe you're addicted to something, and you know that you want a better life and you don't want to be addicted for the rest of your life, but you're not yet ready to kind of take that step and admit that you have a problem or that you need help or that you need fellowship. Well, let me please save you the trouble and the heartache that I went through. Like 6 years of my life wasted because I didn't want to lower my pride and admit that I needed help. Get help. If you think you might have a problem, if you're the type that contemplates New Year's resolutions of quitting drinking or quitting drugs or trying dry January, it's most likely that you have an addictive personality and you have something that you want to get rid of and that's holding you back in life. So if that's you, the best thing I could suggest to you is to just go cold turkey, go teetotal and quit everything. Get rid of all your addictions, your bad habits, because they're not serving you. They weren't serving me. They're only killing me. They're giving me a slow death. There's a self-destructive path, and we don't need that in our lives. We can flourish. We can truly flourish. I mean, I'm entering into middle age relatively, and I feel like my life is just beginning because I'm sober. And I regret that I wasted so many of those years in active addiction. Like I wasted years of my prime years I wasted to addiction, and I regret that so much. And I don't want you to regret that like I have, because it sucks looking back in retrospect and seeing the harm and the years wasted. It's really the years wasted. We can't get those years back. When we're in our prime, when we think we're young and we're on top of the world, that nothing can affect us, well, that we're not going to stay on that high horse forever. We're not going to ride that cloud to the end of our lives. We're going to go through ups and downs, and we're going to age. And the point here is, are we going to age gracefully, or are we going to age terribly? So I had to reach a breaking point. I had to reach my rock bottom. Reaching rock bottom gave me the foundation to build the rest of my life upon. And unfortunately, that's what it takes for recovery to truly get sober. I believe that if we're in severe addiction, if we have a severe addiction to something, to a habit, drugs, alcohol, whatever, then we require a hard surface to fall on, to get back up and build our lives on, a solid foundation. And that's what rock bottom is. So after reaching rock bottom, I prayed to God. I admitted that I was powerless. I admitted that I needed help. I needed a power higher than myself, outside of myself, to guide me and to pull me up out of the darkness that I was in. And I prayed to God, and I asked for help. And he said, if you want help, you just got to admit that you need help, and you need to go and ask for help. So I went and asked for help. I checked into a 12-step recovery program. I went to rehab, and now I'm entering my second year of sobriety. What really held me back from recovery was not being able to admit that I needed other people, keeping myself in isolation, putting people at an arm's distance, if not farther. That's what the addiction thrives in darkness, right? That's where, like, our shadow self thrives in the dark. So I wasn't bringing my shadow addiction into the light. I wasn't making it conscious. I wasn't bringing it to my awareness, and I wasn't bringing it to the attention of others. I was keeping it in the dark, like in the dark corner, the recess of my mind. And it was just such a dark point in my life that I'm so thankful for God that he brought me up out of that darkness. So maybe you don't believe in God, but you have to believe in a higher power, something outside of yourself, something greater than you, that you can just give the problem away to, and trust and have faith that going forward in recovery, that you can live a better life. So the key takeaway here is, I have success in recovery so far. I don't know if I'll have success a year from now, 2 years from now. I can't promise that. The only thing I could promise is that if I go to sleep sober today, if I stay sober today, I'll wake up sober tomorrow. That's the only thing I could promise, taking it day by day at a time. But I can tell you that by taking it day by day at a time, I've reached 1 year of sobriety, and I never thought I would reach 1 year of sobriety. I thought I would be dead. I thought I was heading towards an early grave. The level of addiction, the depths of the addiction that I was in, I was killing myself. I was doing untold damage to my body, my mind, yet it seems like I've rebounded back to my old self. Now, I'm not 100%. I still have some issues. I could some residual effects, and I definitely put my body through the ringer. But for everything that I've been through, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I feel good. My life is going well. I'm doing physically well, mentally well. I'm bouncing back into, I would say, my childhood self. I'm getting back into my passions, my creativity. I have friendships. I have fellowship. I have family. I have a purpose. I have goal. I have networks that I'm part of, and I'm doing things, and I'm being creative. That to me is a purposeful life. That to me is giving myself meaning in life and keeping me going, having an upward aim. So I just had to submit. That's what I had to do. I had to submit myself. I had to submit my pride. I had to lower my ego and say, God, please help me. I can't help myself. So if you resonate with this video, if you like what you hear, then give me a like and a subscribe, and check out this video for more.